Hey guys, Extreme Strategy here, and today we're going to be covering Deluga's GMD Ferality Mod, and we're going to be covering all of the units inside of it. If you guys find this video entertaining, helpful, or both, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe. Now first up, we have a Lord. This is the Master Hunter. He comes with both a Stonehorn mount and also a Thunder Tusk mount, as well as being able to move on the ground on his own. However, for this one, we're going to have him on the Stonehorn mount. He has armor-piercing, anti-infantry, ogre charge, and decent melee combatant. However, he can hurl projectiles into his enemies, as well as do the typical Stonehorn charges against the enemy. He also has a special ability called Crippling Throw. He pulls up his spear, aims it over his head, and then he's going to launch it at the enemy. Goes flying out, slams into them, and gives them melee defense minus 24 and speed minus 25%. And upon charging into an enemy, he comes on in, he can slam them around, and he's a very good sword to use inside of your armies. Next up we have the Maw Swarm. This is a massive swarm of basically strange mutated mouths. However, inside combat, they can come charging on in, they do fairly good damage, and they excel at fighting inside of swarms, because in a swarm they will absolutely shred the enemy with their poison attacks, and just sheer number of units. Next up we have the Stone Boars. And you might notice that several of these units are going to have something called Ferality. Ferality basically means that they're going to do best when they don't have a full army, and they're actually going to lose a little bit of stats when their army count is at max. And these Stone Boars also have Blood Greed, which increases their attack's intensity with each kill that these units get, which is not very hard to rack up kills considering look at how much damage they just did to these Marauders of Slaanesh. They're already down a third of their health, and inside of combat, these guys are able to hold their own. They're not taking a whole lot of damage, and yet the enemy, from that initial charge, they just got absolutely slammed. And if we look at some of these units, their weapon strength, charge bonus, and melee attack have all been increased by the Blood Greed, meaning that the more that these guys kill, the more powerful they're going to become, and eventually, inside of battle, they'll just begin to snowball where they're doing insane amounts of damage. And now we have the Cave Bears. They also have the Ferality and Blood Greed. They are anti-large, and when they charge into the enemy, just like the Stone Boars, they do a ton of damage. However, these guys do even more damage than the Stone Boars do. They will absolutely shred the enemy. And this can go for a lot of these units. They are going to just get increasingly more and more powerful until in a single charge, they will be able to just about kill an entire enemy unit. And now we have Sasquatch, a very popular myth and legend. The Sasquatch has the anti-large ability, plus the Ferality and Blood Greed that all these units have, and they are massive trolls. Inside of combat, they do some good damage on the initial charge. However, it's after that initial charge that they will truly begin to rack up damage. This unit has already killed an entire group of Chaos Harpies, and now that they're actually inside of the fight, they're just going to begin racking up kills with extreme ease, because this unit is meant to be inside the fight smashing and bashing, instead of relying on the first initial charge to do their damage. And now we have the Feral Stonehorn. They are armored, anti-infantry, and they have collision attacks. Collision attacks meaning that they're going to do more damage on the initial charge. And as you're going to see here, they do an absolute ton of damage on the initial charge. They've already done extreme damage to all the Marauders of Slaanesh, except for the one that had two of them coming in. I actually think that the Feral Stonehorns kind of collided with each other a little bit. However, even though that they have those collision attacks, they still do very good inside of a melee fray. And now we have the Feral Thunder Tusks. These are anti-infantry, collision attacks, and frostbite, meaning that upon attacking an enemy, they're actually going to slow them down by 30%. When they charge on in, once again, insane damage is inflicted, and the Chaos Harpies are already beginning to die, and the animation for these are absolutely amazing, how they just spray ice all over the place. They're literally just shooting ice. They're absolutely amazing for the whole purpose that they can just shoot ice everywhere. It truly makes this unit stand out from the rest. And now we have the Dinetherium. I am going to say that I pronounced that right. They're armored, piercing, collision attacks. However, they can rampage. But look at these massive mutant walruses. These things look absolutely terrifying. And inside a battle, they are truly a powerful force. Already just massive damage across the entire field of battle. These guys, just like the others, are able to rip the enemy apart and tear them apart with extreme ease in any situation. And now we have the Gigantosaurus, a massive dinosaur beast that has the collision attacks, anti-large, and rampage. And do these things not look absolutely amazing? These are probably the coolest units in this entire mod, but then again, I do love dinosaurs. Upon charging in, send the enemy flying, do insane damage, knock the Lord way back, and just come forwards and hop on them and take out a massive chunk of their damage. Over here, they're just slamming the Marauders of Slaanesh all over the place and making them regret ever joining the Slaaneshian god in their path to take on the Giganos Giganosaurus. And now for a trademark of the Ogre Kingdoms. Here we have the Stonehorn Fortress, a massive Stonehorn behemoth with ogres carrying massive cannons on its back. These units are both ranged and melee, with armored, armor-piercing, collision attacks, and anti-infantry. And because they have both the ranged and the melee, they can excel in every situation and area. Although they do take a little bit of time to fire, when they fire, they're able to rack up some pretty good damage against units like the Chaos Furies, killing them in 3 volleys, and then inside of the charge as well. That did some really good damage against these Marauders of Slaanesh, and the rest of them are getting absolutely shredded. And the Thunder Tusk Crossbow Rider, a ranged unit for the Ogre Kingdoms. They're armor-piercing, ogre charge, decent melee combatant, and frostbite, meaning that they can slow down the enemy and still shoot them up at the exact same time. Seriously, who doesn't love that? They just pull out their crossbow bolts, and they let fly some projectiles into the enemy lines. They fire 2 shots at a time, and because they're able to do this, they can severely weaken the enemy before they even have to charge into the melee. And because the enemy's already weakened when they do charge into melee, he's fighting weaker enemies than he would otherwise. Moving on to the Regiments of Renown, we have the Red Fog, which is the Regiments of Renown for the Moss Swarm, and these are most certainly redder than the normal Moss Swarm units. And because these units are Regiments of Renown, they obviously do way more damage than their Moss Swarm counterpart. And now we have the Warp Boars, which are the Regiments of Renown for the Stone Boars. Upon charging in, they're able to do decent damage. However, I honestly swear that these things are a bit weaker than their normal Stone Boar counterparts, just because they lack that Blood Greed ability. Moving on to the Ancient Thunder Tusk. These are anti-infantry, collision attacks, Ferality, and Frostbite. They do massive damage upon a charge, and inside of melee, these guys too spew ice all over their enemies, just swinging their heads back and forth and spraying ice all over the place as it comes gushing out of their mouths. Once again, these are very unique in the fact that they literally just spew ice. Are these a reverse dragon? Dragons breathe fire, the Ancient Thunder Tusk breathes ice, dragons fly, and the Ancient Thunder Tusks stay on the ground. Yeah, they probably are. And then we have the Bearazigars, maybe how we say it? Possibly? Probably not. These are the Cave Bears, Regiments of Renown. They're anti-large, decent melee combatant, and they have the Blood Greed ability, meaning that all of the kills that they inflict inside of the first initial charge will only power them up more for the rest of the fight. And look at these. These Bearazigars, with the Enfeebling Foe upgraded, just shredded some Marauders of Slaanesh that had the Locust of Grace and Occam's Mendazar? Maybe? That's how I say it. Look at that. They just got absolutely shredded. Extremely buffed up, or debuffed Bearazigars, and the Bearazigars win. And then we have the Bog Fathers of Albion. These have Ferality and anti-large, and these look really kind of creepy. This looks like something that would come out of a horror movie, to be honest. And inside of melee combat, they do an absolute ton of damage. They're very hard to kill, so that could have been where the inspiration came from. But either way, this is still a very good unit to bring into your army, as they will rack up an absolute ton of damage against the enemy. Now we have the Black Blood, the Regiment of Renown of the Giganosaurus. Collision attacks, Ferality, and anti-large and rampage abilities are now attached to an even stronger unit than before, and most certainly a even cooler unit. In my opinion, this actually holds the place for the coolest looking unit inside of the mod. I know I've said that several of the units look amazing, but this is the one that I truly believe is the coolest unit in the mod. And their appearance is not all show. Just like the other units, these ones do immense amounts of damage, taking the enemy and tearing them apart with extreme ease, and apparently also glitching out. And now we have the Giganterium. Armor-piercing, Ferality, collision attack, and rampage. These units also have regeneration and a weakness to fire, and when they charge on in, they just about kill the unit instantly. The amount of damage they inflicted on the initial charge basically wiped out all of the enemy units. There's practically nothing left. Out of 181 troops, the enemy is already down to 74, and they just charged in literally a few seconds ago. And now we have the Jadehorn, which is Regiments of Renown for the Stonehorn Fortress. I already noticed that their cannons look a bit different. I'll give you a really nice close-up here. They have what looks like Cathayan warheads attached to them. And that's because these units spray rockets. Here comes in the second volley, coming on in, detonates all over the place, and is absolutely decimating the enemy. Nothing will be able to withstand this. Did you figure by the time they even engage in melee, they're gonna be fighting mostly dead units anyway. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe. Go check out the Discord server and this mod. Links to both those in the description below. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.